We're in. Good morning, YouTube, and welcome back to Retired for Life. We have our hole in the floor patched, and we have the John Deere lawn tractor in. It came in without any trouble once I took the deck off. And as I said, the deck has to come off anyway in order to maintenance it before it's used again. So it's shut down now. This thing is done for the winter. I'm going to take the battery out next, and then we'll figure out what other little things we can bring up into here. And we're going to move the bikes over to the garden shed. Well, that's a good start. Now I just have to push them all through the shredder. So guys, this is what I'm doing with this massive pile of leaves. It's all getting ground up, pushed through my chipper shredder thing here. And this is what I get when it comes out the other end. So some of this I will take and dig into the ground, into the garden, and it will compost down very nicely and help make for a much richer soil. And a lot of it will be used as a ground cover between rows of vegetables, that kind of thing, mulch, to help keep the weeds and stuff down. And it's all totally biodegradable, and it will eventually break all down into the soil. So we're going to keep this going here for a little bit today. I'm going to spend another hour grinding away at this and get this trailer full, and then carry on with it again tomorrow. we go for today. We're about halfway through this pile, pushing it in to the shredder. I've got a full trailer load, so I'm going to take this up to the vegetable garden and dump it, and then we'll get back at it again tomorrow. Now, I do have a quick job out at the big sawmill. I've got to go down there and help level the area that's underneath the roof that we've been building to put the big sawmill in. You guys seen me working on that on an earlier video. So for now, I think we're going to call it quits and go in and have a cup of tea. So what I'm doing today is adding a very simple attachment. I want to sometimes pull one of my trailers with the tractor. So I bought this from Tractor Attachment. So it should be just a direct bolt on to replace the plate that's down there. And from what I've read, this being there is not going to interfere with any functions. So once this is on, it's going to stay on. And then I can put my little trailers behind the tractor when I want to. I will include a link to tractorattachments.ca in the description if you're curious to see what they have. They are a Canadian company and they have really lots of nice little add-ons for my tractor. I bought a couple of things from them for it. And that includes a hitch very similar to this that I put on the front of the tractor, which is also quite handy when I'm pulling things out of the bush and that type of thing. So let's get this thing on and see how well it fits. Well, there we are. That was pretty easy. Just the 4 bolts. No drilling necessary. There's the plate that came off. So I've got this multi-hook here so I can switch to just a hole or a hook or my 2-inch ball. So that will be really handy. Now, of course, whenever I'm not using the hitch, I've got to remember to take this out just to make sure it's not going to be in the way of anything. And I don't think it's going to be, but it will be in the way when I try to put on the backhoe. So that is one of the reasons, or at least right now the only reason I can see to have to take it off. And of course it's just pulling the pin and off it comes. So that's good. We're going to get a trailer hooked up here and put some tools in and get ready to go down to the big sawmill. Well, there is the first use of the trailer hitch, and that worked really very nicely on my little utility trailer to pull behind the tractor. And that was great. So we are back in the bush at the main sawmill. This is the big one. And as you can see, we're in the middle of doing some pretty big changes. So this is the end result of the post beam and peg building that you saw me working on earlier. So it's all now tinned in and we got good protection underneath here. So the sawmill is going to stay reasonably dry, and then if you're crazy enough, you can come back here and work at it through the winter. So what we decided to do in order to still make it easy to get logs onto the mill was to build these tracks. So the idea here is we've got these long black pieces that came with the mill that attach to the tabs here, and they're going to rest up on this, and beside them are going to be rails that run out 16 feet. So the idea is to load up this crib with a whole bunch of logs, so it's ready to go, and then just roll them down one at a time onto the mill. At least that's the plan. And so far it looks pretty good. So I am back here today to continue working on this for a little while and see how far I get. I've got to finish fastening on this one crosser, and then I've got to bring in the rail. I've got one rail sitting out there. That's the 16-foot rail. So I'm going to bring it in and sit it on top here of these two crossers, and that way I can project my lines out to the last set of posts to put the lines on for the crosser for that one, because I do want these rails to sit nicely down on all three of the crossers. So we're going to get to work on that and see how that goes. That looks pretty good. Now that I've got this rail sitting here, I can now transfer my lines for the crosser onto the last post. That's going to make it much easier. But I think while I'm doing this, I might as well put the other rail up as well. We'll get it up on the other side, just so it's there and ready to be used. Alright, so I've got the rails up in place, and I've extended this out, and I have clamped the last crosser to the posts here. Now that's going to give me a pretty good positioning for this crosser, so that I know my rails are going to be at least really close to sitting down on the crossers, which is what we need. So I'm going to mark these out and then take the crosser off and cut the notch for it. Well, I think I'm deep enough now. So I'm going to just use the chainsaw for the top and plunge cut through for the back. See how it goes. okay? One more to go. Well, there's our notches. We'll put our crosser up and just push the rails across, and we'll see how it looks. All right, there we are, guys. This thing is sitting absolutely perfect on all three crossers on both sides. So that's really nice. Well, that's good. Okay, so we've got our rails. We have a very slight angle to help encourage the logs to roll down, so it's not too much work, but we need to be careful as to how that works. So I need to cut a bit of an angle on here so that the rail will then match up with the steel rails. So you can see how our log will roll onto there, but we don't want the logs to be able to simply roll away freely, so the steel rail is going to stay empty, which means I need to put a safety stop in. So I've got these really heavy galvanized bolts, so I'm going to drill a hole for them to drop down in here. So these will stay in place until you're ready to roll your next log down the steel rails onto the sawmill. So let's get these holes drilled. So the logs won't roll by that very easily. So I'll just give these a quick spray paint of bright orange just so we don't miss them. Alright guys, that's going to be it for today's video. We've done real well. We've gone a long way along to getting this rail system ready to go. The next thing will be just a few more details to work out with it as to how we want things positioned and how we want the rails to move around, and then it'll be time to put it to use. But for now, it's pretty much time to go home and find something warm to drink. It has been a very cool day today. It is getting close to dinner time. I got the donkeys circling around me here, and I'm sure the turkeys are waiting. So that's going to be it for today's video, guys. So thanks very much for watching, and we'll see you out on the trails the next time.